a young historian and writer came to Johnstown to begin research for a new book on the Johnstown flood. The book, published in 1968, was one of many that had been written on the flood, but it was to receive instant national acclaim as the seminal account of the tragedy. It also launched a career that has seen David McCullough reach the pinnacle of popular historians, win 2 Pulitzer Prizes and National Book Awards, and be named the winner of the prestigious Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest honor bestowed on a citizen. Publication of the book did something else. It renewed the interest of Americans in this compelling human story and brought the Johnstown flood back to the forefront at a time when it was fading from folklore. But what brought David McCullough to Johnstown? What convinced him that there was a story here that had not yet been told, but should be? He tells us in his own words about 20 years later.
I'm asked time and again, how did you ever get interested in the Johnstown flood? What was your first knowledge of the Johnstown flood? And tonight I'm going to divulge the truth about that. When I was growing up in Pittsburgh, as young as I can remember, we used to put the gravy in our mashed potatoes in a little lake. And then we'd take our fork and we'd break the potatoes and the gravy would run down among the peas. And we'd say, the Johnstown flood. All great scholarship begins that way, you see. The flood, they say, is an old story. The Johnstown flood. Oh, that's an old story. But it isn't. It's as new as 3 Mile Island. It's as new as Chernobyl. It's as new and as recent as the Alaskan oil spill. What was done to this city is the same in essence as what we are doing to the ozone layer and to the rainforests.
No one knows more about the impact of Mr. McCullough's book on the success of the Flood Museum than Richard Burkert, nor has anyone worked harder to present the Johnstown Flood Museum story to hundreds of thousands of visitors. He was brought to Johnstown to head the Johnstown Flood Association and is now president of the Johnstown Area Heritage Association, the Flood Association's successor.
David McCullough knows a good story when he sees one. David comes from that long tradition of narrative historians. And today, most historians write for other historians. David writes for the general reader, and what he's done throughout his career is vividly bring to life episodes from American history. And his first book was The Johnstown Flood. And in many ways, it served as a model for the other ones. And in some ways, it stands out, as a very successful example of that, just how compelling an historical narrative can be.
While the success of David McCullough's 1968 book refocused America's attention on this legendary tragedy, Burkert believes it had other important effects.
David McCullough's book on the Johnstown flood was really the beginning of a popular reappraisal of Johnstown's history. Johnstown, I think, really wanted to put its heritage behind it, to get rid of that. Johnstown was known as Flood City for many years, and much of the business leadership wanted to get rid of that image, and somehow we'd be better off without our heritage. You can't you can't shake your heritage. It's part of who you are, and it's part of the character of your community. But you can use it to create a strong sense of place that I think successful communities do. I think that's what makes Johnstown so interesting. Or the stories that are attached to it, the geography, the buildings. There's no place looks quite like Johnstown.
Last fall, when Jaha invited David McCullough to accept this Outstanding Achievement in Heritage Preservation Award, there occurred what might best be described as an organizational holding of breath. 1, 2, 3 weeks went by without response, and while hope dimmed, it didn't die. Then, one day, in the seemingly routine morning mail, came a handwritten letter from Mr. McCullough that read, "I have been trying to work out my schedule for next spring to see if your April 30th date can work. And it will. So yes, I am happy to accept your invitation and look forward very much to coming back to Johnstown. It's been a long time, too long. And of course, I will be honored to receive your Heritage Award. Many thanks. Sincerely, David McCullough."
The horrendous disaster that is known as the Johnstown flood need never have happened. It was more a mistake of human nature than Mother Nature, and that is the primary lesson of the Johnstown flood. The great disaster at Johnstown took place because the people who lived in this community 100 years ago made the crucial mistake of assuming that because people are in positions of responsibility, they are therefore behaving responsibly. We cannot do that.
Many thanks to you, Mr. and Mrs. McCullough, for making this evening truly special for Johnstown.